Welcome to the Edgevana Podcast, where we illuminate subjects in the IT infrastructure space. Get ready to hear some amazing insights from outstanding individuals that will change the way you think about IT. And now, here's your host, Mark Teely.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Edgevana Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Teely, and joining me today is Chetna Mahajan of ZoomInfo. She's the CIO there. I'm thrilled to have her on. I'm excited about her perspective on IT and the changes we're seeing these days. And I can't wait to hear from her. Chetna, welcome.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Chetna, and I am, as Mark mentioned, I head the IT department. I actually call it corporate engineering at ZoomInfo. I've been with ZoomInfo for about 7 months now, and super excited to be here, and also excited to the fact that it's a first-time CIO job for me, as well as the first CIO at ZoomInfo. So almost like a kid in a candy store, lots of opportunities. And as you know, the company is growing so fast, and lots of impacts that our organization can make for the company.
Awesome. Well, again, thrilled to have you. I mean, we've been on a couple of other conversations in the past, and I've really enjoyed your perspective. As a longtime student of IT and the IT environment and the IT industry and technology in general, I'm always interested when I hear new ways of thinking about something that is old for most of us, especially for those of us with lots of gray hair like me. So if you don't mind, Chetna, I'd like to jump right into that topic and talk a little bit about, your philosophy around renaming the IT department, what that means, and why you felt that was important in the first place.
Sure. So when I first joined ZoomInfo, before I joined, actually, we were, so the technology teams were embedded in the different business units. So there's a fintech team, there's a RevOps team, and so on and so forth. And so my job was to bring them all together. And then we had a version of IT, which was mostly infrastructure technologies. And so when I was trying to bring the teams together, they wanted to be more, and a big portion of that team used to report under CTO. So they were a lot of, especially engineers and developers, they related themselves more as a technology company, a technology organization, versus being part of infrastructure support kind of a role. So I think bringing them together and making them feel like that they belong, it's a technology company, because I wanted to that shift that we are enabling business through technology. So we wanted to get that message to the company. So it was very important for us to position ourselves as corporate engineering. And so although infrastructure technologies, which is what we call IT, is part of that. So I think the entire org design and bringing the teams together, attracting right talent, they were all some of the reasons why we chose corporate engineering. And I thought that this would be something that we can carry forward. People were excited about it when I talked to them. Them wanting to become part of the corporate engineering group became a no-brainer. I mean, it was very easy transition. I didn't have to do those negotiations with the business unit, where you want to bring in the IT organizations over. It was very easy. Even the harder ones, like the data engineering and BI teams, they also eventually were very easy aligned, and it was more of the message was more of architecture-led, experience-led, user experience-led kind of solution delivery. And it is not just the back office like enterprise technologies and infrastructure technologies, but also the big portion of it is go-to-market, the front office so supporting sales, marketing, customer experience organizations as well. So also it gave us strong messages where we're in this to not just be a cost organization. Actually, I just, as I've mentioned in a few forums, I don't associate or call ourselves as a cost organization or a service unit. I think we should run IT as a business, or corporate engineering as a business. And we are equally responsible for driving the revenue and growth. And we just recently got off deciding our vision for the organization. And I'm very excited to do that. Our vision for corporate engineering is to lead, not drive, lead total experiences at every digital touch point. So it just becomes relevant when we call ourselves as corporate engineering.
Fantastic. And again, I love the vision, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it really seems, based on what you're saying, that and I know it's more than a name, right? I mean, you've already described that it's much more than a name. It's an org design. It's all of the above. But do you find that that oftentimes something as simple as a name drives a philosophy about how people interact with you, and how it, as you described, saying certain things seemed easier? Is that name change, you think, actually a big part of what helps break the barriers of engagement?
Yes, actually, it's interesting. Absolutely. So when we call ourselves corporate engineering, my teams tell me that is the best thing that's happened to their organization, because then they feel like they have a seat at the table for technical decisions, architectural. Like we just, so I rolled out architecture review committee for corporate systems, and any intake request that comes in for technology help goes to the ARC. And so now more and more people from the business, and even in the engineering and product team, they're reaching out to us for requests around architecture designs and things like that. And so it does elevate us, and we are seeing more of solution providers, consultants, if you will. And it does, position us differently. We're seen kind of, if you would, at par with the CTO organization, which is not always the case. And I've been in many companies where, they are the product developers and we're the business enablers, or, back office system support kind of an organization. So it does give us definitely a lift in how we are seen and execute, and how we interact in our, even when we talk to the product teams and engineering team, we can together brainstorm ideas and solutioning in a lot of different things like DevOps, because there's some of the infrastructure and architecture and design are very common for both organizations, even though we start off with off-the-shelf products, but we have a lot of engineering aspects to what we deliver as well.
I know, and again, the thinking around not being considered a service or a cost center, is huge. And I, not quite as effectively as you have articulated it and executed on it, because I was post IT roles when I wrote some of my own philosophy, and I have an old line that I put in a couple of blogs at one point a few years back, something to the effect of, I'm probably paraphrasing myself, but something to the effect of, if you think IT is used only to reduce the cost of IT, then you're doing it wrong, right? Absolutely. And I'm being flippant, but you get the motivation, right? The idea behind that. And unfortunately, I think that's true in so many places, is that how much are we spending on infrastructure? Okay, reduce the cost of infrastructure. How much does ERP cost us? Okay, reduce the cost of ERP. That's great, but marketing does that. Sales does that. Everybody's supposed to do that.
Everybody's optimizing.
But where does that leave us in the way of providing innovation or integration with the company? It doesn't help us at all, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally, I totally agree. And that's why I tell my team, like, when we did an initial assessment of who's spending them, what are we spending our most of our times on? So we had this pyramid where we had majority of our team was on the run the business, and some change, and then very little transform. And our goal is to shift or flip the pyramid, where we're mostly spending time innovating and transforming the business. So I think that's very critical for everybody, and that helps in the solutions that we start providing. Now I see from every single individual engineers and analysts, they're now asking the question. They're no longer audit takers. They're like, okay, why do you need this? What's the problem that we're trying to solve? They're thinking beyond what's given to us to change in a system, but what's the solution we're providing? What's the problem we're trying to solve? And that just changes the whole quality of the solution and the impact that the solutions have that we provide. That's
fantastic. And this may seem like a little thing, but I have to believe that it's brought you some value, and that's that. It's like you could use any org design to solve a problem. It's just which one you have to spend more time on than the other, right?
Absolutely.
And the same thing applies here, but the positive, I would assume, I'd love to get your quick feedback on, is that why, even if you Chetna, are the most amazing negotiator, the most amazing arguer in the entire company, isn't it nice to just have many of those barriers removed because of the acceptance and the understanding already of what it is that you're trying to provide? And then you're not just a service org. You're not having to try to, every time you do something new, trying to reprove yourself or whatever. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think the initiatives that we have brought in, and we are driving things like that will really help reduce cost of sales. It'll help accelerate our sales for emerging products, like we're trying to kick off e-commerce and partner engagements and technology, customer communities, partner portals. All that is really only helping drive revenue and accelerate that growth.
It's funny. It's kind of a stupid, obvious thing, but it's probably still worth saying, and that's that anytime you can take a minute off of a project, you are increasing the value of the project. You're either saving more money or making more money, or you're doing both, right?
Totally agree. Oh my God, I love that. I'm going to copy that.
Yeah, I mean, so time. That's why I'm surprised when more of us don't talk about the importance of time to value.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even thinking about something as boring as an overpass, if truckers are wasting money driving 10 miles farther to get to where they have to go because that overpass isn't there, every day that overpass is delayed means that those truck drivers are wasting time, wasting hours, wasting diesel, et cetera, et cetera. And so spending a little bit more money or being a little bit more proactive on project planning and get that, anyway, you get the idea.
Totally agree. Absolutely, yeah. Mark.
Fantastic. So, another topic we wanted to talk about today, which also coincidentally just happens to be near and dear to my heart, because I think you can really do it wrong. And I think you can really do it right. And for a lot of the reasons we've just been talking about, doing it right is so important. And that's the idea of M&A. And I know ZoomInfo has had their fair share. So what's your philosophy around that? What have you had to do to help prepare the organization? And, what have been surprises? Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, mergers and acquisitions is dear to me too. After having gone through these for several companies, that's Sun Microsystems, Boeing, Symantec, divestiture, mergers, they're very, very good for, like, acquisitions are really good for accelerating the growth and getting us to our end goals sooner. But at the same time, it can be extremely taxing for the employees. It can cost us really good resources if the employee experience is not looked at. And it can definitely cost us millions and millions of dollars, making the deal not as attractive or as worth as it should be or expected. And I've seen this many times when things have not gone the right way. And so I think that's why it was extremely important. So in the org design, one of our verticals is a dedicated IMO, integration management office. It's being built. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but at least just calling it out, says that we have to focus on it. And it's a separate focused, because we're not going to slow down in any near future. Like we had 3 acquisitions in the 6 months that I've been here. We have had 3 back-to-back acquisitions. And if we don't have a playbook right, a blueprint right, we can go wrong. In this company, ZoomInfo is extremely go-to-market focused. I mean, given the nature of our product too, so we have to, we're selling our products to help the go-to-market teams and other companies be able to get to their business objectives sooner. So similarly, I think it's a very strong focus. So day one productivity, especially for our salespeople, is extremely essential for us to get us to a go-to-market motion where we are selling the combined products and platforms, very effectively. So for us to have that kind of an aggressive turnaround time or time to value, if you will, it is extremely important for us to do M&As right. So the way we have, and I think it's worked really beautifully for us. And I wish I could go back into some of the ones that I did in the past and say we could do this. So we phase it where the first phase is solely focused on go-to-market, how to enable our sales team. And even if it is some extra, some loss of, if it increases the technical debt and there's more work in the background, and we just make sure that day one productivity of salespeople is there. And whatever due diligence we need to do, we have a whole framework of pre and post diligence and all of that. So, the playbook has become very, very robust now. But long story short, I think thinking about employee productivity on day one, thinking about employee experience. Employee experience is extremely critical. Now, I have seen things go south just because either the cultures don't align, or which, a lot of times people don't consider cultures as mostly about product alignment and platform. But knowing that that is not as much of a thought during assessments and analysis of, it's more financial gains. So it is our job, like somebody who leads the IMO, to think about employees extensively, like what are the cultural differences, call those out. So we have these different work streams that we kick off, which is, we have HR work stream, financial work streams, definitely a go-to-market work stream, IT work stream. So we have all these, I would say 10 work streams that we nailed down. One of them is employee experience. And it's extremely important for basic things like collaboration, communication. Like on day one, I should know who my manager is. I should know what my org structure is. And I should know what the cultural differences are. Yes, these are the values, but the team should always feel welcomed, that they are part of the family and we're learning from their culture. It's not just like, hey, this is how we do stuff and you just learn what we have. So because it's the talent pool. I know we talk about products, the end product, but I think it's the employees that are our biggest asset. So we want to make sure retention is taken care of. And so things like that, I think we have these work streams, which we've learned over time, is having just employee onboarding, offboarding, different collaboration tools just set for them, how to integrate basic systems like collaboration systems, communication systems, and getting all those Q&As, FAQs, have a special website just for the new employees to go in and just get their questions answered, get the Slack going for a newly acquired company and their questions. All of that is extremely important. And I would say at this point, we're 80 to 90% there, which is very huge as compared to some of the others in the past that I've seen. And it's being done really well. And the phase that I was talking about, where we have the first phase, is all about basically go-to-market and employees. Then the second phase is all the systems. How do we get the systems together, processes together, migrate the data? And that takes a little longer, but at least we've got the employee experience piece and the go-to-market motion up and running. And then we have the others going, which I think is a very good approach. And it's worked beautifully for us. And we plan to just, hone in on those for the future acquisitions that we have for FY22.
And I love the idea of thinking for the most part employee first.
Yes.
I can still remember back when I was in my 20s, and I didn't necessarily. I've always believed that I was the imposter, regardless of where I was, and so as an imposter in a role, you're always assuming that they can get rid of you and that there's no next for you. You're never going to find anything else.
Yep.
And so, and a lot of us are like that, or just different reasons. We all have our own insecurities, however they manifest themselves. And little things like giving people confidence and transparency on what's happening, how they're going to find out about, okay, your old boss said your path to promotion or path to new opportunities look like this. And now it looks like this, right? And, let us know how we can help, get to the right middle ground or to the right future for you. And all of those little things, even, who you're going to report to.
Yes.
I don't know that I'll ever believe a study that doesn't recognize that an employee's satisfaction with their job and their going to work on a daily basis is hugely related to who they work for.
Yep.
So if they're really happy about who they work for now, they're going to be terrified that might change.
That's
and that
right.
puts them in a different light. So I think, and I've become a lot more vocal about it, but I actually believe that the customer customer one is the employee.
Yeah.
And I've referenced my friend Jonathan Feldman a few times, who's the CIO for this city of Asheville. And he said, yeah, if you're asking your prisoners to provide good customer service, you're going to get what you pay for.
Yes.
Right. And so, treat the employees properly and the employees will treat your customers properly.
That's
right.
Yes, employee first is such an important thing for us. And, that's why so one of the org designs that I have, we have a vertical called Strat and Ops, strategy and operations. And within that, aside from strategy, operational processes, budget, and vendor relations, I also have employee experience. So we're doing our part for corporate engineering. So yes, we have HR, but then I want to make sure that everybody, all the roles that we have, they all have a career path. They, running the ESAT, like employee satisfaction scores and things like that is very critical. So we're starting to do, kick off that small department as well.
That's good. That's good. And it's, I really enjoyed my time, and most obvious experience was when I was helping VMware for a couple of years, just before they went public and right after they went public. But I sympathize in a positive sense with what you're building and the enthusiasm for getting that kind of thing in place, and just identifying and building departments that people don't even know are important to being able to allow the company to grow. Because I mean, and again, this is something I'm probably saying something that goes without saying. I have a bad habit of doing that, but you guys were just another video company, and then COVID happened, right? And so you really kind of jumped into the deep end by virtue, right? And so I've got to believe that the internal stresses on helping the company scale and being responsive to the opportunity, and being able to leverage the opportunity created probably faster than the original founders ever thought it would be, is widespread. Yeah. Well, let's take a couple of minutes to talk about one more topic, if you don't mind. The notion of digital transformation isn't a new one anymore. But how does a company like ZoomInfo that started really as a digital organization, how do you and the broader organization view the goals and objectives of being a digital company and sort of maintaining that philosophy and that regimen going forward?
Sure. I think so. To me, and I know everybody has and it's become quite a cliche word, digital transformation, and everybody has their own versions or understanding of digital transformation. To me, at ZoomInfo, since we're growing, we have such a high growth. It's a high growth company. We came from, when I joined, we were like 1,800 employees. Now we're like 2,000 in just 3,000 in just 7 months. So we're growing at that rate. So I think for us, digital transformation is truly enabling business transformation through technology. And what that means is, again, when I was talking to you about a pyramid, like how much time are we spending on run the business versus actually changing and transforming the business? And those are the areas we need to focus on. To me, things moving from being a generalist to becoming a specialist. So we can specialize our technology landscape for those different verticals of the business. So for instance, when we are doing a lot of direct sales, we're going really great. But at some point, that's going to switch. Or if we want to keep the margins that we have to reduce our cost of sales. So we need to find out other avenues. So to me, bringing in additional channels for sales, like partner channels, e-commerce, those are the areas where we can drive digital transformation. Now, given the nature of our financial transactions and given the complexity of all the transactions that we're doing, we no longer can sustain the existing ERP systems that we have. So we're now looking at the next generation enterprise grade software for our ERP solutions. Then again, things like our intake process, it's all over earlier all over the place, where we had Salesforce in the go-to-market team, business technology team would be using Salesforce, the others, some using Jira Desk, some using Zendesk. It was all over the place. Having that single door to entry, making sure we streamline the intake, we can measure our basic SLAs and time to resolution or response time, all of that. This basic operational excellence items, those will also, to me, that's also digital transformation. So anything driving automation at scale, making sure that we can effectively and efficiently sustain the growth at scale. Those are the key areas to me that we need to address through digital transformation at ZoomInfo. So that's how I think we're addressing, and also at the same time, making sure that we are, as and when we acquire products and we are growing and adopting, we want to also hone in and really expand and mature our customer zero, or ZoomInfo and ZoomInfo program. And so to me, that's transformation too. So we want to make sure we have a feedback loop back to our product team for a roadmap for quality. We're the first ones to try out our products and intelligently speak to it, be able to work with our customers to provide them the blueprint to help them as they implement our solutions in their landscape and their companies. So to me, that's what I would say when we drive business transformation through technology, is what digital transformation I feel we're supporting or we are executing at ZoomInfo.
And I've always believed, and not so much because I've done a tremendous amount of what would be considered digital transformation oriented projects company-wide. I've certainly been involved in projects that have that kind of influence or leadership impact, et cetera. But do you see having direct support from the rest of the C-suite as sort of being critical to what you drive for from a digital transformation standpoint? Because as much as we can apply technology to problems, it's the philosophy and the involvement of the employee that's critical to that success, right?
Yes, I think that's important. Yes, I think it's some on luckily Henry, our CEO, is very passionate about it, so I have that support. And my boss Chris, he's the COO at ZoomInfo. He's like one of the best bosses I've had. So they understand and they've been there, because as I said, that the technology was reporting into under Chris's organization, the embedded organization, just for go-to-market. So I think they've seen the pain that it creates when we have technical debt, when we have 5 of everything. It's just so hard. And as we acquire, we just keep on adding to our technology footprint, and it just dilutes the skill sets that we need, and you need more resources to maintain more, and we can't scale. So they understand that we can scale. So I have a lot of support from them, and over time I think everybody's kind of coming along. They're realizing the value of corporate engineering. Now they don't want to, because they know that their core business is to run their individual businesses like HR or finance, and now we're seeing more as consultants that more and more requests are coming to us. We are able to drive rationalized technology. We were able to, we had when I first started, we had 5 visualization tools. Now we've consolidated all that into one, so everybody's seeing benefits. And one of the ways we tell the story is, for every $1,000 that we save, we're able to, for every $1,000 that we spend, the sales team has to sell, $60,000 or $6,000 worth of stuff. So that conversion was an aha moment for a lot of people. They're like, oh, wow. So really, you have to bring in $60,000 worth of sales for us to be able to spend $1,000. So that did open up a lot of I think it really helped people start thinking about it. And when we established the architecture review committee, a lot of things are now being, channeled through that organization. And it has really helped us to see, oh my God, before that, there was people would buy technology as and when they needed. But I think having that robust architecture review committee that has representation from risk, from security, from data, from all of the, for all the key verticals, they have legal. So it really, and procurement. So that really helps make it a corporate-wide decision, the company-wide decision, as opposed to individual needs. So I think for sure, I think now I have a lot of support from the C-suite, if you will.
I like it. And I like how what you described there, the 1,000 for 6,000 is sort of a constraint mechanism, which is so important in companies that are growing quickly, because oftentimes it's not the money that's the problem, it's where to spend the money. And it's real easy to spend money on things that don't add the value you think they will when money is plentiful, right? It's plentiful,
yes.
So I like that approach. Chetna, we're getting to the end. I really appreciate the time you've taken. This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm certain I could go on for another hour past our time here, but anything you'd like to leave with our audience, any kind of nugget of wisdom that served you, or that you would suggest people look out for?
Yeah, one thing that's very important, it comes in handy every single time any decisions are being made, or any, if it's technology decisions, people decisions, org decisions. We did hone in a lot about employees and how employees matter. I think the two things, leading with empathy is very critical. And I would love for, and I tell my team is how it's important is how we deliver the solutions. We're making sure it's not just about checking the requirements and saying, okay, we did what we were asked to do. It's about how it's consumed and used, and the experience that the customers or consumers of our service or solutions get. So leading with empathy is very critical for me. And the other thing is being very transparent with your employees. That goes a long way, trusting them, building their trust. And I know somebody long time ago told me, and I really used that and took it to heart, like no decision about me without me. So those are the two things, being transparent and, engaging in the employees, and then leading with empathy for every interactions and solutions you provide. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Well, thank you very much. And where if somebody wants to keep up with what you're doing, where's the best way to follow you? On LinkedIn. I think that's the best. That's one area the forum that I'm very active on. I need to get active on the others, but haven't had a chance yet. Okay. Well, and this is a relatively new area, but where I got to know Chetna was on Pulse HQ. So I'm sure they're excited about being mentioned here. But nonetheless, it's a great forum, and yes. I will forever preach it or appreciate it for connecting me with people like Chetna. So again, thank you for taking the time to join me on the podcast. I hope everyone else enjoyed your feedback and wisdom as much as I did. And I look forward to future conversations. Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for the opportunity, Mark. Thank you. All right. Thank you. And anybody that's listening, if you're interested in participating in a future podcast, please reach out to us. Until next time, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Edgevana Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast listening app or on YouTube. To learn more, visit www.edgevana.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us on our next episode.